He's going to look at the Alabama UConn Final Four game and the Mets and Tigers game. Tokyo Brandon will be looking at 2 baseball games, and Andrew McGinnis 1 baseball game and a hockey game, plus Daddy's big game breakdown. And if we get 100 likes, my daily presidential address. Let's get it going. Let's start the show. Adam Trigger joining us right this second. How are you, my friend?
I'm not doing too bad. Finally got a win in baseball last night with the Diamondbacks. A couple days of just nothing going my way, so it was nice to get back in the win column. And it's like I'm kind of like sad college basketball's done, but the tournament didn't go as well for me this year as it did last year, so I'm okay with it, I suppose. It's ready for baseball season.
Yeah, it was going to be hard for the tournament to go as well for you this year as it did last year. You didn't lose a game for weeks last year, it felt like. So, that's the nature of what we do. We'll talk some MLB in a moment. Let's start with a Final Four matchup preview. Alabama, UConn. Right now, look at the WagerTalk live odds screen. I'm seeing the Connecticut Huskies 10-0 against the spread in the tournament over the last 2 years, and they're laying -12 to Alabama. Of course, UConn's won each and every one of those tournament games by 13 points or more. Here we're looking at 12, total 160 and a half. How do you see it, Mr. Trips? It's a spot Huskies to continue their extraordinary point spread run, or can Alabama hang around in this one for a long, long time?
So I figured I'd throw my 2 cents in here. This is not a play yet for me, but you'll get an idea of where I'm at least leaning toward. If I was just trusting my numbers, like if it was just, playing a number and hoping for the best, it would have to be Alabama. I make this closer to like 7.5. Now seeing 12s, but I never play like that. I'm much more, especially with college basketball. I try to, kind of trust what I see, get to see these teams play in person and use that just as much in my decision making. But without a question, Teddy, like the books are going to make you pay a pretty huge premium to back UConn here. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to have a loser or a winner. Like that is completely irrelevant. But what without a doubt, that 12 is a pretty inflated number. Now, you just made the point, right? Like UConn's been covering everything in the tournament dating back to last year. They covered what I consider to be 2 inflated numbers last week. And so, all of that, kind of needs to be taken into consideration, almost like similar, feels like the Patriots, right? Like when they were really had their elite NFL run and it was like the numbers made no sense, but it almost didn't matter. It got there every time. It's kind of what UConn has felt like in the tournament here. As far as like the matchup is concerned, UConn, it just seems like they have an answer for everything. I don't think they're so dominant and they can't lose. Like we've seen them lose games this year. So it's not so much that they like are just unbeatable. It's that you just have to play so good to beat them, right? And it's like, they don't rely on like the hot hand like it feels like a lot of these teams do when it gets to the tournament. I think you've seen teams go out where it's like you get to the NCAA tournament and it's just, can we make enough shots? If not, we're out, right? Like UConn's they're like a throwback team where they've got an answer for everything. It's what a lot of these teams used to look like before NIL and unlimited transfers is they're a team with multiple different ways to win a game. They play a slow tempo, right? But they're not slow. They play the 315th slowest pace in the league, but they get out and can attack you in transition in 2 seconds. So they're a really tough team to beat. Number 1 in offensive efficiency in the country and number 4 in defensive efficiency. They waste very little and they make you're not going to get many easy buckets against them. Now, where Alabama could hang in this game is just their style of play, their athleticism, and the shot volume they're able to get up. The one thing that Nate Oates kind of, I think he does with, that he gives his team a chance to win is like they know exactly what they're going to do. Go in, it's going to be a 3 or a rim run, and they're going to let Estrada like play a little bit in the mid range. A lot of people forget that Alabama was the number 1 overall team going into last year's tournament. They lost in the Sweet 16 to San Diego State. They played the toughest schedule of anyone in the country this year, and they're a top 20, 25 rebounding team. So if this team can hit a few shots, specifically from 3-point range, there's no reason that their size and athleticism can't keep them in this game. And then if they're in this game, that 12 becomes pretty appealing. So I lean the 12. I'm wondering if it'll take any more money, but that's certainly, where my money would be if I'm involved with this game this weekend.
So here's my question. Side and total, are they related in this game? If Alabama covers, is this game going over the total? Because it feels to me like the handicap here is Alabama going to score enough? Because if Alabama scores enough, they cover and the game goes over. If Alabama doesn't score enough, the game stays under and UConn covers. Is that your thought process as well, or not necessarily?
So I've never claimed to be a great totals handicapper. I don't give them out as client plays. They would almost always be opinions for me. But I think it's worth noting that UConn's so versatile. They could probably play Alabama's game, but they could also slow it down, play in the half court. I referenced their tempo. Alabama plays a much faster tempo than UConn, but it's not because UConn has to play that way. They're just super versatile. And so, it's tough to say. I could see UConn being fine with an up-tempo type game, but just based on what the betting market's done, it looks like that it probably makes more sense for UConn to limit the number of possessions because UConn's possessions tend to be of a higher quality than Alabama's possessions. So if you're kind of looking at UConn and you think UConn's going to be the one that controls this game, controls the pace of this game, I think you'd be looking toward the under. But it's not to say they couldn't get into a run and gun type situation and score with Alabama. So no real opinion on the total, but just some food for thought there.
Adam Trigger joining us, everyone. You're watching WagerTalk Today. Tokyo Brandon and Andrew McGinnis still to come. Adam, let's turn our attention to baseball. We've got the undefeated Detroit Tigers, 4-0 on the season, playing the not defeated New York Mets, 0-4 on the season. Hauser against Mize. Where are you going in this matchup?
So another one that's kind of a lean for me based on the price. This moved kind of quickly. This one moved quite a bit overnight. I probably would have taken the Mets as a client play at a better number. Now that it's minus 125, minus 130, it'll stay in the lean category. But I do think the fact that one team is 0-4 and one is 4-0 is a tad irrelevant here. We're talking a 4-game sample over the course of 162 games. In reality, I think these two teams are probably equals. I would not argue with someone saying that the Tigers have a greater upside. But if we're talking about where I have both of these teams power rated, I think both are probably 500 teams, give or take. So again, can't really do anything with the records. 0-4, 4-0 doesn't really matter to me. I actually think the Tigers were less sort of impressive than maybe their 4-0 record would indicate. If you go back to the White Sox series, they were their minus 1.5 spread line was essentially it was playable in the terms of you could pretty much take the White Sox plus 1.5 at a good number, playable number in any point in that series. And Detroit didn't cover that margin once. So 3 one-run wins could have easily ended up on the other side of those. And then of course Monday night, extra innings, 0-0, that 5-0 win was a result of ghost runners and what we kind of see happen in extra innings in baseball today. So not like the Tigers have been a dominant 4-0. It's not like they're out here winning games 9-2 and just crushing teams. They've kind of squeaked by in all 4 games. Their bullpen's been really good, but again, their bullpen ERA through 4 games is 0.53. The Tigers are not going to have a sub-1 bullpen ERA this year, right? We just know that that's not going to happen. Shelby Miller is just out here throwing, scoreless inning after scoreless inning. We know that's not going to happen. So at what point does that sort of unravel a little bit? I would say in the coming days, at some point, someone's going to get through to this bullpen. At some point, the Mets are going to score a run, right? They have 17 scoreless innings coming into today, hitting $153 in that 17 inning span. So, that's something that's not going to last. Although, just you got to play devil's advocate and play both sides here. The Mets they haven't hit, right? They haven't really shown us the ability to hit in four games so far. So, I may want to see that breakout before I make an actual bet on it, but it's probably going to come, at some point. They're not an incapable lineup. Casey Mize is going to make the start for Detroit. he's coming off of a multi-year injury, multiple surgeries. He had back surgery, he had Tommy John surgery, so like somewhat unrelated. He didn't pitch at all last year. I don't think he's appeared in the majors since April of 2022. Had a decent spring, but again, like I don't think you're going to see him go very deep here. My guess is 80 pitches at the most. So you may actually get 4 or 5 innings to get your cracks in if you're the Mets at this Tigers bullpen who's due for some regression. Adrian Hauser, he's a pro, he's a veteran. Like he's, a guy that I'm not like overly high on, but he's been in the league for like 8-9 years. He was always sort of a solid starter with the Brewers. So I think if he matches Mize, I'd actually take the Mets bullpen in this game, knowing that we've got a little potential regression coming from the Tigers. And now you've got the Mets in desperation mode. They need to win. They're at home. So I lean toward the Mets here, and at a better price, this probably would have been a client play.
Yeah, just to be clear, the line moved after the starting pitching was changed from yesterday's game was rained out. And then when it was Mize Hauser, that's when the line moved. So it wasn't one of these scenarios where the bettors just came in and started pouring money on the Mets.
Right.
The market itself.
But I do think Teddy, I do think the Mets did take some money though. Like they did take some like overnight money. I'm almost positive they did. But yeah, that's a good point.
A little bit, perhaps they did. But here's my question: this game's going to get rained out. All right. I looked at it and then I looked at the weather forecast and I said I'm not even going to post it for the clients because, and I agreed with the concept of the Mets being their chalk here. But it's going to get rained out. How much time do you spend worrying about games that are going to get rained out? Because there's very little chance this game gets played.
Yeah, well, I'm only a couple hours away right now, and I can confirm it is raining. So, I'm assuming they're getting similar weather to us, and it's been kind of raining all day. I guess it wouldn't, unless the rain was going to really factor into like my overall decision of the game. It wouldn't change like my handicap, I suppose. Like I'm still going to go through each game and I'm not going to like worry if, I may be less inclined to play a +1.5 if I think the game could be shortened because it would obviously get voided. But if we're just talking about a team to win, it wouldn't really change it. And if they get it in, great. If not, oh, well, I guess it gets rained out. We move on.
Adam, what do you got going for the clients tonight?
So right now I have a Major League Baseball play that's this afternoon, goes in a couple hours. That's a 4% play. And I'll be posting shortly just my second Korean baseball play of the season. Going to be far more selective there this year. But I think that'll yield better results overall. And yeah, I guess that going to be very selective. It's just my second one of the year. That will go overnight. So 5:30 a.m. Eastern tomorrow morning, 2:30 a.m. Pacific time.
There we go. Adam Trigger, everyone. Teddy, you got a hard stop. No small talk. What did we learn in the wonderful world of sports betting last night?
We'll be fine, Prez. I appreciate, though, the less small talk that you make, the better this show is. So I was on yesterday, all right, talking about what I call unwritten rules of betting MLB baseball and how I broke one when I bet against a sharp move to the under the previous day and got extremely lucky to win in extra innings. I made another dumb play in MLB yesterday, and this time I didn't get away with it. And it's one of those things, it's hard to write down. You can't quantify it, but it makes a ton of sense, and it's one of the things I've noted over the years, and I just missed it yesterday. So opening series at home, teams get huge crowd. For example, the Rangers yesterday. Huge crowds. They unveil the banner. They win 2 out of 3. It's an emotional weekend. Then they head to Tampa, and I should have had them first game. They're the better team. And they blew out the Rays 9-3 in that first game. I think that was the final. Yesterday, Texas even a bigger dog, and I pulled the trigger. I'm like, yeah, this is the right. Texas, they're the better team. It's a dumb bet. This early in the season, week 1, week 2, it's not really let's bet streaks times yet. I want teams to be bet on. I got teams that are bet against. And I want to bet on these teams at prices I want to be on or against them. And a lot of situational plays the first 1, 2, 3 weeks of MLB. And that's what I missed yesterday. They do much less situational a month or two from now when we're riding streaks, but not early. They handicap largely situational the first week or 2 or 3. And what happened? The Rays smacked them around. The bigger plus price was no good. And it felt like a very comparable situation. Baltimore, KC. The Orioles had that big opening series, won the first game of the next, flat as a pancake yesterday. They rallied from 3 down to beat KC on Monday. And then the second game of the series, not the game to bet them. Braves losing at the White Sox, same thing. Huge opening series, win the first game, bounce the next time. Yankees losing at the D-backs, same thing. Huge opening series, win the first game, the next one, flat spot. That second game is the one to be wary of. And there's no way to quantify it. I have no idea how to define the parameters. The concept is off a big series, win the series, win the first game of the next series. Game 2, bet against or pass territory until streak riding season begins. Unwritten rules of MLB. Hope this one made sense because it's one that I missed yesterday that I like to pay attention to, especially early in the season. Lawrence?
There we go. Let's keep it rolling, man. I gotta just.
Exactly.
I'm gonna make some small talk now. Okay, so guys,
that's what you do.
Watching the show. Teddy tells me we have a hard stop, and then the show started 5 minutes late. Dan's fault. So I say, Teddy, don't ask Trigger a follow-up question on the second game that he gives out. Teddy's like, oh, no, my question is really quick. Teddy, for the 8 millionth time, it's not your question that we're talking about. Obviously, your question is really quick. Nobody asks a question that's a paragraph long. Every question in the world of questions is one sentence. It ends with a question mark. The problem is the answer to your question. How do you know that Adam Trigger or the next guy is going to give a super short answer?
So even when I have a hard out, it's important for me to give a good show to our audience. Every day we bring it, all right? When I have a question in my mind, I want to ask the guy, what does he think about it? Here's a game that I handicapped. I like the same side as Hid. I decided I'm not putting this play up. It's going to get rained out. I want to know what Trigger thought. That's it.
Okay, well, I have a
with the first game.
I have a follow-up.
The follow-ups are always questions that stand out to me. Something that I'm interested in. A piece that I'm, or mostly, I shouldn't say always, but, in general, what stands out to me about this game? What stood out to me is that it's going to get rained out. How do you approach a game that's going to get rained out?
Well, let's ask that. So I have a follow-up question that interests me. I have a follow-up question to you. Why would you not release a play you like because it's going to be rained out? I feel like that makes no sense. Release the play. If it's rained out, it's rained out.
Because it's going to be rained out.
Oh, 100%. Welcome, everybody, to WagerTalk Today. I'm Lawrence Presman. He's a god. Tokyo Brandon joining us. Tokyo. Teddy's amazing, hey? How he 100% knows that there will be a rain out. I should take him on my ski trips with me. He'd be like, 100% 40 centimeters of snow. Okay. Welcome back, brother. We'll have you on regularly throughout the year, as good as it gets in baseball. Let's start right off the bat with the Cardinals playing the Padres. Where are we going in this game?
I am undefeated in baseball and phone sex. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Dude, you got some residents there. I don't know what mic you're using. Undefeated in phone sex. That's impressive.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You guys are like Tony Randall and Jack Klugman in The Odd Couple. I love listening
is this like
to the
news? Is this news? Like I prefer to think that we're Gene Simmons and Ace Frehley.
That's kind of, very similar. That's the heavy metal Odd Couple, I would say. A Jewish heavy metal rocker and an anti-Semite together. Yeah, that's a good comparison, actually. Moving on.
The Odd Couple comparison is a problem because neither one of us is Felix and neither one of us is Oscar. All right, so it doesn't. In my mind, it's a. I'm Felix. God forbid.
Whoever the miserable, decrepit schmobo is, I don't know which one. That's you, bro.
Yeah, so he just said I was the other one, just so you know. Okay, so
Yeah.
the fact that it's very clear, there's no clear analogy because he just called me Tony Randall and you just called me,
Okay, fair
whatever.
enough.
Let's talk
Anyway.
MLB.
You notice the Tokyo Brandon throws in a not anti-Semitic remark, but Ace Frehley, an accusation. We should do a whole show on that, but let's move on. Dude, Teddy's got a hard out. I don't know why.
Okay.
Cardinals and Padres. Let's go.
Okay. Ace is my favorite member of KISS, by the way. But yes, he does have anti-Semite tendencies.
So in a minute span, you call Ace Frehley an anti-Semite, and then you tell us he's your favorite member. Guys, Tokyo Brandon will not be joining us on the show any longer. Teddy, it's time for your big game breakdown.
All right.
Like
let's talk
the
some
hell?
NBA. Oh, what?
What the hell? What the hell?
I like his guitar playing. That's all. So moving on to baseball.
Cardinals Padres.
Cardinals Padres. So Joe Musgrove takes the mound for the Padres today, and he's going against Thompson for the Cardinals. So many ways to break this down, but overall, I see these teams pretty equal. But when I look at pitcher batter matchups, Joe Musgrove has a great reputation being a solid pitcher, being really good. But if you look at his history against the Cardinals, it's really not very good. And the sample size is very significant. He's got 96 at bats career against the Cardinals, and they're hitting at a 312 batting average and a 902 OPS against him. That coupled with the fact that Joe Musgrove's getting off to a really slow start this season, the Cardinals really make him work. And he's labored through 2 starts already this season. And I looked at DraftKings, his outs recorded. I love to do outs recorded because the variation is anywhere between 15 and 18. And I find myself more successful doing outs recorded than strikeouts. And it was 18 and a half, which means you have to get 1 out in the 7th inning to pitch 18 and a half over. Really hard to do, especially this early in the season with short hooks. You look at Joe Musgrove's last 12 starts, he's only went over that twice. So I like the under 18 and a half outs recorded for Joe Musgrove today against the Cardinals.
And is that line still available? Because that to me feels like it feels like a bad number, and it feels like it's not going to last long.
I want to bet that.
It was minus 155 when I saw it. So yeah, it was very juiced, but it's a great bet because it was there when I saw it a couple hours ago. I don't know if it's still there right now, but it's a great bet if it's still there. So go to DraftKings and see if it's still there.
And how much would you be willing to lay with that at this stage?
I'd be willing to go up to minus 170 on this. I think that's a good bet.
There we go.
I don't think there's any way he pitches into the 7th inning.
Tokyo Brandon.
Yeah, I'm shocked by the number. You know.
Yeah, so was I.
Yeah. Well, you heard me say "wow" in the middle of your piece. So Tokyo, yeah. I know you love. Okay, move on, Lawrence. Move on.
No,
Yankees and Diamondbacks. I'm still reeling over the Ace Frehley shit. You like Yankees team total under 4.5? Tell us why.
So if you look at the first 2 games between these 2 teams, they've both gone under. And the game 1, the line was 10, and they scored 7 runs. Game 2, the line was 9, and they scored 7 runs. So the Yankees have scored 5 and 0 against the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks bullpen has been performing quite well. And if you look at Merrill Kelly's history against the Yankees, he's got 67 at bats and he's held them to a 179 batting average. Granted, only 2 of those at bats are against Aaron Judge. So, and Juan Soto and Austin Wells tend to get the better of him a little bit. But he's only allowed 1 home run in 67 at bats against all Yankees batters in his career. I like the Yankees team total under 4.5. The game total was 9, between 9 and 8.5. So the book basically predicting this game to be 5, predicting this to be a 5-3 Yankees win. I would disagree with that. I think when the Diamondbacks have a good pitcher like Merrill Kelly on the mound, I think they're a pretty formidable team. even though they don't have the names in their lineup that the Yankees have. So I like the Yankees team total under 4.5 in this one.
Teddy does have a follow-up question for you, but really quick, we have done some checking. Dan has looked. Also, we have some clients, some listeners in the chat room. The Musgrove line is down to 17.5, not 18.5. Are you still good with that play?
Absolutely. So 17.5 over would mean he finishes 6 innings. I don't think he does. He's only done that a couple times in his last 12 starts, and the Cardinals rock him in his history. So they're going to make him work. I think he comes out in the 5th inning.
Teddy?
All right, 17.5. Still worthy of an under, says Tokyo Brandon. We're talking about Joe Musgrove. We were talking about the Yankees and the D-backs and the Yankees team total in particular. And Chase Field for me is one of these fields where it's all about the roof. You know, the roof is closed, you don't play overs. The roof is open, you play overs. The roof's open today. Does that worry you at all?
Not at all. It's still a pitcher's park, I think. And Merrill Kelly's just good. The Yankees only scored 5 runs against a worse pitcher 2 games ago, and they scored 0 yesterday. So I think 4.5 is just too high for this team total, especially given the fact that everyone except Juan Soto has been pretty shut down by Kelly in his career. I'm a little worried about Judge only having 2 at-bats against him in his career, so Judge might be the X factor here. But no, it doesn't worry me. I think Kelly will hold them to 1 or 2 runs in the first 5, and the bullpen's been playing pretty solid. I don't think they're going to give up 3 runs in 4 innings in this game.
Tokyo Brandon joining us. Guys, Tokyo Brandon was the number 1 most profitable handicapper in 2021, 2022, and currently the number 1 most profitable handicapper in 2024. Up 120 units. If there's one guy to play all access, even though his favorite guitar player is an anti-Semite, take Tokyo Brandon. Brother, what do you got to promote?
You're going to hold that over your head forever now, aren't you?
Yes, I will. Of course I will. I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
He's a good guitar player.
My favorite politician is David Duke. I really love David Duke. Best politician ever. Yeah. Idiot. Sorry.
I'm not an anti-Semite.
What do you got to promote?
I love my Jewish brothers. I love my Jewish brothers. So I have a pitcher prop out, client play, at my page at WagerTalk right there, wt.buzz/TB. And I will have KBO Korean play for late night action. So go there and grab it. I also have 2 free plays loaded at that link, so go check those out as well.
Wonderful stuff, Tokyo Brandon. And guys, in all seriousness, it does not get much better than Tokyo Brandon. I told the story a few weeks ago. A friend of mine asked me one guy to play on the site, All Sports, who should it be? I said Tokyo Brandon, and number 1, 2021, 2022, and currently 2024. Teddy covers. 12 minutes left in our show. It's time for your big game breakdown.
Big game breakdown. Let's go to the Big Easy, New Orleans and Orlando. Right now, looking at the WagerTalk live odds screen, I'm seeing the Pelicans -4, total sitting at 208. And this is a Pelicans team that's in the midst of a huge homestand. Well, they're currently 1-3 on that homestand. And while they've stepped up in class repeatedly, all right, no question, they've stepped up in class repeatedly during this homestand. The bottom line is they haven't played well. This is what they said. Zion Williamson, after they got beat at home by Boston last weekend, quote, "They upped their intensity and we didn't match it. When we started to match it, the game was out of hand at that point." That's not a quote I want to hear after a home game against the best team in the league, when energy intensity shouldn't be an issue. And how did they respond to that? An even worse performance, blown out by Phoenix in their next ball game. All right. Since the All-Star break, they've lost at home in straight up fashion 6 times in their last 10 tries. They're 0-3 ATS as chalk their last 3 times. They're missing Brandon Ingram, and they're missing defensive stopper Jose Alvarado, and they need those guys right now. Orlando beat New Orleans by 15 when these two teams met just a couple weeks ago, despite the fact that the Pelicans shot really well in that game, 54% from the floor. The Magic have 8 straight-up wins their last 11 road games. Not a team we worry about backing in hostile environments. And there's urgency for Orlando tonight, coming off a very shoddy showing. Yes, they beat the Blazers by a point last time out. A single point. Jamal Mosley was not amused. You know, you have to talk about the Magic standard and how we play. That wasn't it. We have to be better. Very simple. Respect the game of basketball and play the right way from the beginning to the end. I think Orlando brings it tonight. I think New Orleans is a false favorite. Live dog in this one. Client play for me on Wednesday. Take the Magic plus the 4. And there's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr.
Teddy covers. Eric DeLong writes, you have a magic stick. I don't know what he means, but now at least I understand why you were the one of the 2 of us that were invited to that orgy. Andrew McGinnis joining us. AM, we were arguing how tall you were. 6'4", 6'5"?
Somewhere in between that. Yeah, 6'4.5". And yeah, that was something I've heard last night, a magical stick. Jesus. Wow, what a great comment that was. I can't believe how appropriate the comment section is on a show that you're hosting, Prez. It's great. It's great to see.
Okay, so what are you insinuating? Someone told you had a magic stick last night? I'm a little lost.
Yeah, magic wand, you know, good at using it.
Oh, okay. Let's get into some actionable info. Guardians, Mariners. You got a bet for us. What is it?
Come on. Hey, Prez.
The show's gone off the rails, dude. As it does when I am the host.
I'm trying to bring some light to the show after the last little part there. Well, let's jump into Guardians and Mariners here, guys. So for the most part on the season, MLB, I'm a huge team totals guy across all sports now, as we'll talk about in my next game with the NHL. A lot of times my full game, when I like a team, I will just go ahead and look at the team total. That way I don't have to worry about a bullpen screw me over on my team, and I can just worry about the offense and fading a pitcher. But in this instance, I'm going to bet the Mariners on the first 5 innings in the -0.5 line, meaning if the game does result in a tie after 5 innings, we do lose, but we're looking at that, getting that number down to -115, saving the juice here. And we'll start things off with Kirby on the mound here for the Mariners. And of course, the offense hasn't been dynamite, to say the least, for this Mariners team here. But in his opening start of the season, looked pretty solid to me. Went 6 2/3 here, just 2 hits allowed. Obviously, no earned runs, striking out 8 batters and giving up just 2 walks. So a guy that I'm looking to get behind for this Mariners team, a guy that I want to put my money on, and a team right now that, you know, I didn't really have their bullpen rated too high or too low, but I want to just be betting on them when I have a starting pitcher that I certainly do trust. Now, the other side, Logan Allen, 5.4 ERA to start off his season. His first start, it was against, you know, a not very good team with the Oakland A's, and he still gave up 6 hits, 2 homers, 3 earned runs. Just a couple strikeouts for him. So to me, this is a pure mismatch here as far as the starting pitchers. And I know a lot of handicappers say these days, well, they don't look at the starting pitchers, doesn't matter to them as much. You know, for me, I look more so at the team I'm betting against starting pitcher versus the team I'm betting on. I'm more likely to fade a guy than to bet on a starting pitcher. I'm curious what you guys think about that. But for me, I think this is a mismatch, and the Mariners need to get going here. And this is a pitcher they can find their offense against. So I'll take the Mariners first 5 innings, -115.
So just looking through their first 5 results so far, Seattle's been getting off to these slow starts, man. They haven't scored in more than 1 of the first 5 innings in any game yet this season. Do we worry at all that this struggling lineup will continue to struggle, despite the fact that the starting pitching matchup today is favorable for the Mariners?
Teddy, I know all about that because I had a team total on the Mariners and I needed the 8th inning for it to hit, for it to come alive even. They didn't do anything in the first 5, so I get it. And it's a really appropriate question, but it's just the matchup here that I like here. I think they can take advantage of Allen, and I do trust this team to kind of at least get things going a little bit offensively. And one thing we all know, and it's hard to really describe in a sport like baseball, but teams, their offense, they get behind. It seems like offenses perform better when they have their guy on the mound, a guy they expect to do well. For the Blue Jays, their last, Gosman's first time out. I'm a huge Blue Jays fan, so I'll bring them up. Gosman's a guy they can count on. He had an unbelievable year last year. They go out and give him 7 or 8 runs. In that game in particular, they didn't even need to perform well. Or he didn't need to perform well. But I feel like teams get behind their starting pitcher, and there's certainly a reason why I'm choosing the first 5 because of this pitcher's matchup. But I do hope the Mariners pick things up in the first 5 innings. You're pointing out something that unfortunately I know, and hopefully it changes today.
Andrew McGinnis joining us. Andrew, I was on Vegas last night as my 4% NHL money line bet. They played the Canucks. I just want to use this moment to say, my NHL moneyline bets have been sick all year, 63%. I have 2 going tonight. So, guys, make sure to be playing my NHL. Okay, so the Vancouver Canucks lost last night. They did put up 3 goals against this Vegas team, and now they're playing the Arizona Coyotes. Look, they're in a dogfight. Winning that division is crucial. I would not want to have to play Vegas or Edmonton in the first round. Are they going off tonight?
They are going to, Prez, and overall in this one, you're seeing the second half of a back-to-back, and people love to fade a team in the second half of a back-to-back, but lately across all sports, NBA, NHL, I like to look more so at fading a team if they won the first half of the back-to-back. If they lost and they get a favorable matchup the next day, you're going to get a discount, a better price, and a very motivated team with a bad taste in their mouths, and that's what we're going to get tonight with the Vancouver Canucks. Guys, if you shop around, some books giving you plus money, plus 105 right now for the Vancouver Canucks to get to 4 goals. Remind you, they had a very, very poor performance last night against the Vegas Golden Knights, still scored a handful of goals. Now they get a chance to play a team in the Arizona Coyotes that just gave up 8 goals against the Rangers. They gave up 4 goals against Dallas, 5 goals against Dallas the last time out, 4 to Minnesota, 7 goals to the Chicago Blackhawks. This is a perfect team total spot. I'm not sure how great the legs will be defensively. Who knows what happens in goal for the Canucks tonight? The bet is very simple. The Canucks to get us to 4 goals in a bounce back spot here after a tough outing last night against the Coyotes team that nobody can trust defensively. Team total over for Vancouver tonight at plus 105 is a great price.
Yeah, of course, Vegas with season high 4 goals in the first last night. Expect a bounce back this evening, says Andrew McGinnis. Andrew, first, we need a couple more likes to get Lawrence's presidential address. So please give us a like, give us a follow. If you like this type of content, be sure to subscribe to the WagerTalk YouTube channel. And now, Andrew, what do you have going for the clients? How you running? Talk about your Wednesday and beyond in the WagerTalk world.
So as far as NHL is concerned, just 4% best bet, keeping it real low volume with hockey, trying to get on a good run going in towards the playoffs. But MLB, as I mentioned, I love the team totals, love fading bad pitchers, bad bullpens, and backing hot offenses. So I have a best bet in the MLB long-term plus 40 unit run with the team totals and full game totals in the major league. So check that out. I have a pass going right now. AM69 will get you guys a week of all my plays, all sports, $69. One best bet today, $25. 1 week of everything, $69. Thanks so much, guys.
Andrew McGinnis. Okay, Teddy covers. Look, we got to 93 likes. I'm going to give a little leeway here. We're going to do a daily presidential address, but in the future, this is non-negotiable. So, okay, Dan, cue it up. Okay, guys, I got a couple of bets to give out for you on the daily presidential address. I do want to make mention my NHL moneyline bets, absolute gold this year. 32 and 19, 63%. I have 2 NHL moneyline bets up tonight. Do not miss my plays. I also have a 6-pack in total. I have 3 NHL plays, 2 baseball plays, and 1 NBA play. Okay, real quick. I like the Rangers tonight in regulation, guys. I was on New Jersey last night. They lost. This New Jersey team is playing like shit. The Rangers are coming off of a loss against Pittsburgh where they dominated the play, but still lost. This Rangers team is in a dogfight with the Hurricanes to win the division and with Boston to win the President's Trophy. Take the New York Rangers in regulation. I also like Dallas and Edmonton to go under the total of 6.5. Teddy, 12:45. We made it. Take us home.
Sure. Well done, Lawrence. Thank you so much. Appreciate you moving quickly today. Of course, we have to tape the TV show. We have 3 more episodes coming here in April, so we've got to run out the door after the show. That's going to wrap it for the Wednesday edition of Wager Talk Today. We'll do it again tomorrow, same time, same channel, 9 a.m. here on the left coast, noon for you guys back east. Between now and tomorrow's show, you guys know what to do. Enjoy the game, and best of luck with all of your wagers.